play to save the season to throw. Fire down! Incomplete down at the goal line by San Diego. Tomlinson off the left side. Tomlinson sidestep. Hello, history books. I think they have to now. Here's Sproles. Sproles inside the 10, inside the 5, and the Chargers win the game.
What a game. So good. I broke my microphone as we started. Welcome, everybody. Throw your, DJ jersey up in the air, Greg. Chargers are dynasty killers. They absolutely slayed the king today, toppling the throne, knocking out the Chiefs, giving them an early – Chargers got to play the Grinch today and gave the Chiefs an early Christmas present, which is no playoffs. An early ticket to Cancun. They can go do something else this offseason. The dynasty is over. There is a new king atop the throne. And as of this moment, it is the Chargers. Sweep the season series with the Chiefs. Knock them out of the playoffs. They have a chance to sweep the entire AFC West with a win over the Broncos coming up pretty soon here. And while we're getting shades of the past with Philip Rivers starting for the Colts right now, what an amazing day for the Chargers. And then also now we get to see Philip Rivers, who hopefully stays healthy and has a little bit of fun. I saw him crying on the sideline right before the game about how much football meant to him, which is just the best every time. But man, a big day today for the Chargers, and not only toughing out this win, but to knock the Chiefs out, their biggest AFC West rival, is a huge day.
Holy moly donut shop, man. Where do we even start? How about, hey, Nick Wright, you combo of a mole rat and Tom Green look-alike? Have fun tomorrow digging up every excuse in the book you can to talk about why the Chiefs are now going to be sitting at home. Do it with me. 1, 2, 3, Cancun. Everybody together. This has to be, before we even get into the details, this has to be one of the most improbable Chargers seasons of all time when you consider everything that's taken place with regard to the injuries, specifically to the offensive line, because that's been a thing all season long. Greg Roman having his hot and cold play calling, mostly cold, and then now Justin Herbert with another injury. And still finding a way to somehow sweep the Chiefs in a season where you essentially had a home game taken away from you, and then you go march out to KC in the cold and bury them. Poetic justice. And I would have never thought this way based on the way that this roster was basically currently constructed. And now to be at 10-4 and sending the Chiefs home for the season, I don't know if it feels any better than this. Of course, getting into the playoffs and doing work there, that's ahead of the Chargers. But today has to be an all-time day for Chargers fans.
Yeah, and it was a pretty wild day to start because the officiating was kind of shaky at the beginning of this game. And then we saw probably one of the worst ejections I've seen in quite a while. I don't want to say ever, but I still can't, and we'll probably get into it. We can now, but it just felt like, Derwin got a penalty early, which it felt like he hit that tackle like in the midsection and flipped him. So I don't know how that's a penalty, but then, it just, I don't know. There was the refs today were kind of off on both sides, but that low block penalty on Derwin was so soft. And then, towards the end of that game where Jefferson gets close to a helmet to helmet, which when they kept slowing it down, it looked like as Jefferson was going toward Thornton kind of changed his level and kind of ducked his head a little bit. And then they collided helmets. But sure, it was a helmet to helmet, but throw the flag, but an automatic ejection. I understand a flag. Sure. It ended up being helmet to helmet. Didn't feel malicious. Didn't feel like it had any ill, intent behind it. But I don't know how you can eject a guy without malicious intent. And that was not it. He was not leading. He did not launch. There was none of that today. And I completely understand why Jefferson got upset because, I mean, maybe don't flip off the crowd. I mean, let's not do that. But I get it. He was in his emotions, but I feel for him. That penalty it felt like it was a response because the Chiefs got so upset about it. It almost started a brawl, and then the crowd was chanting, and it just felt like it was a gimme call. They all got it for him. And then, of course, Deion Henley gets the interception right after and proves the old adage that ball don't lie, because there's no way that you can eject Tony Jefferson on that hit, who was playing excellent, by the way. And there's a lot to get to, but the way they played today and how physical they were was amazing. But anyway, yeah, man, that ejection was crazy. I can't believe that that they called that and did an automatic ejection from New York. New York saw it, called in and said, "Oh yeah, well, we're going to eject Jefferson," which, because it was helmet to helmet, I've never seen something like that.
Well, let's start with the fact that it was unavoidable, and it was literally a form tackle. So when you're talking about leverage and angles and things of that nature, like football, they always say it's super cliche, is a game of inches. Well, let me ask a question. What exactly is a defender supposed to do when he's going in for a tackle? First of all, your head is a part of your body. So is he supposed to detach his own head from his neck prior to making contact there? Because like you said, the receiver kind of changes, like he braces for impact. And because he braces for impact, he lowers his head. Well, I'm sorry to tell you that when that happens, virtually there's no way to avoid making contact with your helmet. You could move your head to the side and you'd still make contact with the helmet. He didn't intentionally try to spear him. He literally hit him with like his face mask in the helmet. So my question is, again, what is the defender expected to do there? Should you just let up, allow the receiver to run through you, like literally put his face mask through your chest and either, push forward for additional yards or break a tackle to get a big game, whatever? I don't understand what the expectations are, but this is a game that is set up for the offense to be successful. But the ejection thing is crazy, especially with the way he was playing, which you mentioned. And for the last few weeks, Unc has been going clean off. I didn't even realize this. He has the same amount of interceptions this year as he's had his entire career. So we're talking about someone who's playing out of their mind right now in essentially their second stint in the NFL. And you took a key piece out of the secondary. We already have issues. Elijah Molden was out. You have RJ Mickens who went down. And so you're starting to think, oh, okay, this is how it's going to happen, right? You're going to beat us by attrition and nonsense calls, but it wasn't meant to be, because the defense as a whole rallied. And of course, BDL. Ball does not lie. Deion Henley, that was a fantastic pass coverage rep. I mean, the fact that he used it was almost like he played DB, because he used the sideline as a secondary defender. He was in the receiver's hip pocket the entire time, boxed him out and made the pick. And I think that Mahomes underestimated how good of an athlete Deion actually is. But this is his thing. He was always supposed to be a very good pass defense linebacker and someone who can flash from sideline to sideline to make plays in the run game that way. But he literally used his superpower against Mahomes, and I don't know what Patrick was thinking. I really don't care what he was thinking. But again, that's how we make it happen. You kick out one of our guys, defense rallies. And when we're talking about another all-time defensive performance, I don't want to hear anything about the Chiefs' offensive line being hurt. You want to know why?
No.
Because we're Chargers fans. Keep that stuff to yourself, man. Both teams had to fight through injuries.
Yeah.
There was a scenario like the span where it was like every other play or every play Chiefs guys were going down. Like, that feels vague. No, actually vividly familiar. Like, I feel like I said before, I think I said in the chat, it was like the injury reaper had the sun in his eyes today and was picking the wrong team, but not my problem. Chiefs, you got the guy, right? So you just got to figure out how to win, because that's the expectation for other quarterbacks, or one in particular. So I don't feel bad for you guys at all. Have fun this offseason. And regardless as to what happens for the rest of the year with the Chargers, it just feels really good, and almost like, again, it was something that needed to happen based on the way that this year was set up and everything that's happened. So, yeah, we can talk about everybody else that participated, but I'm just having fun crapping on the Chiefs right now because it feels glorious.
I know. And everybody's felt bad for Mahomes at the very end, which, you don't wish for anybody to get injured ever. But, that stuff happens. And it felt like through the past, anytime a Chargers player would get injured, there was always just like, oh, typical Chargers. But what I think really showed itself today was what kind of team the Chargers finally have under Harbaugh.
Mhm.
They were such a physical team today where they were always getting out physicaled. Anytime there was some kind of like little mistake, they always made up for it. You know, that when there was that, ejection from Jefferson, 15 yards, they get in the red zone, Henley gets an interception. On that last drive of the game, Minter decides to blitz Derwin and I don't even remember which safety was covering Kelsey at that time on that 3rd and 17. Blitz Derwin rather than trying to take away Kelsey. Blitz Derwin, Kelsey gets the first down, and then a couple plays later, Derwin gets the interception. So, it felt like you don't really see these Chargers teams, at least of old, go on the road in KC, out physical another team. And then also with all the mess going on in between, the fighting on the field, teams getting on each other, some of these crazy penalties, some that weren't called. I mean, on that first drive, I think it was Rashee Rice, like ran over Cam Hart and left Kelsey wide open for a first down. No call.
There was a pick and a hold on that play. 2 penalties. Yeah. They could have picked one.
They didn't call either one. Yeah. But rather than let that affect them, like, yes, they scored a touchdown on that first drive, but after that, it felt like all the other stuff, any penalties when they had an extra man on the field, like none of that stuff really bothered them. They're able to come back and fight back through all that stuff, which just feels like a mentally tough team that the Chargers haven't had in a very, very long time. And when you see all the big hits from Derwin today, from Tony Jefferson, Perryman had a really big hit on that first drive. There was and we saw Oweh getting after I almost said Kermit the Frog.
That's fine.
Kermit the Frog. I'll say it. That's fine. Kermit the Frog. Tuli getting sacks on him. Hands the one who brought him down, and he ended up getting injured. Tart played great today. There's just like, man, you love to see how physical this team is and the new like brand of football they're starting to play. Offense was sleepy for the first half outside of the last drive of the second quarter. But, defensively, they're starting to put their stamp on games a little bit more. They're starting to prove that their identity is that they're going to try to get after you with 4 and play everything in the back end and jump on anything if you leave anything up like they did last week. And they're getting enough pass rush from Tuli and from Mac and from Oweh now, who, I mean, the addition of Oweh has been a godsend. I mean, we were talking about how terrible this team was without a pass rusher, especially when Khalil Mack was out. And now you get Oweh, and they've got like a 3-headed monster right now. They're getting after the quarterback and not having to, blitz a bunch of free rushers. They don't have to, send Henley or Perryman or Derwin very often because they can get home with 4, which is amazing. And I don't care what the offensive line looks like. They weren't able to do that with a broken line earlier in the season. So I don't care what the Chiefs line looked like today. But I say that just to say that we kind of saw the kind of turning of the leaf today. Or what's Harbaugh's thing? The worm has turned. The worm has definitely turned. They're starting to build an identity. They're a physical football team, and they're also very mentally tough. So it's 2 weeks in a row, man. They bent but did not break, and they always put that kind of exclamation point on the end of the games going forward on a stretch of games where we said, starting last week that this was going to be a gauntlet, and they've gone 2-0, call it 3-0 with the Raiders, but that doesn't really count because they're terrible. But check off the Eagles, check off the Chiefs. They got 2 big wins to start it off.
Physicality meets execution. That's the difference right now, as opposed to what the team was last year. That's where you're seeing it, which is why they're pulling out these close games. What their record right now in games less than 7 points? Was it 6-1, something like that?
I think so.
So we're talking about a team that's closing, and yeah, I feel bad for Patty Cake. Not really, but what I do understand here is that we've reached a point where the Jim Harbaugh brand of football is starting to become very loud and clear and evident every week. Because in the second half, I saw a team that was much more physically dominant on the road in an environment that they are not accustomed to playing in. I'm not going to say not built, because they are actually, in fact, built to play in this type of weather.
Yeah.
The type of football that Harbaugh wants to play travels, and you need a running game and a defense to show up. And today, you definitely got your defense. I mean, collectively on the ground, they only rushed for 94 yards, but they were able to do enough. And Herbert was able to make some really timely throws. Again, I'm sure we'll get into detail about that. But overall, having a team that's executing when they have to me, means more than just blowing teams out of the water. Because while that would be fun to just house teams every single week, I like the fact that you have one that doesn't just, in the past, because it's what we're accustomed to, get kicked and never get up. And that's not this Chargers team. Yes, we saw them get, boat raced in Jacksonville, but it seems like after that game, I don't know what happened during the bye week. I don't know if it was like a come to Jesus conversation that was had amongst them, but this isn't the same team after that game. I know that they seemed a little sleepy that week, and maybe we're looking forward to the bye week because they have had a longer season than almost everyone with that early start, playing in the Hall of Fame game, so getting an early start on training camp and then having kind of sort of that later bye. But this team is now finding a way in the midst of adversity, and that is true team football. When you're able to win a game without everything functioning the way that you need it to, because it's literally been the entirety of the season. You started off the season with what could have been a back-breaking injury. You've collected them like Pokemon cards over the first 6 to 7 weeks, and still somehow, some way, you find yourself in a position to make a run into the playoffs. And then when you get into the dance, anything's possible. But this is Jim Harbaugh's team, and has got his modus operandi stamped all over it. And this is what we were looking for when they made the hire, when we were all begging for them to go after him. This is exactly the type of football team that you want to have. And I hate to look forward, but I got to imagine this. What does this team look like if it just has a quarter of the injuries that it has right now? And unfortunately, there's no use crying over spilled milk. They have to go with the guys that got them there. But I feel a lot different now than I did maybe 5 to 6 weeks ago, when I felt like, okay, the wheels have to come off at some point, because how do you overcome all these injuries against some of these top teams? Well, take a look at it, boys and ladies and gentlemen. Yes. Last 2 weeks, Eagles, Chiefs. Who saw this 3 to 4 weeks ago when you were looking at the schedule? No one would have thought it. I mean, not me. So again, this tells you everything that you need to know about the direction this team is going in and the type of leadership that it's under, because leadership matters when you're lacking in either talent. It always matters, but it's what can get you over the hump when you're lacking in either talent or you're dealing with some attrition. And Harbaugh being the leader of this team is making all the difference. I don't care what anyone says about it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Any other coach, put the same coordinators in, drag and drop another coach in there, I don't know that you get the same result. It's absolutely Harbaugh's team. And to withstand a sleepy first 2 quarters and still end up winning this game on the road in Arrowhead is all because of Harbaugh and what he's instilled in this team. And he came out of halftime, was like, we're ready to go. And they kind of, and I do want to give them a little bit of credit, because we haven't talked about the game specifically, but it did feel like once they're going into halftime, the protection settled down on that very last drive before halftime. They were able to get, some nice chunk plays, one of which was that throw to Trey Harris down the sideline, which was, he had really good separation, great body control to come down with that ball. And then they capped that off with that KLS TD, which was a great layered concept. I posted the video on Twitter, but it was a great concept, and it worked out perfectly to get Brian Cook to bite on Keenan Allen underneath. But so after that, they then, coming out of halftime, they get all the way to the red zone. It kind of stalls a little bit. They kick a field goal, but it felt like the offensive line started to get going towards the end of that second quarter. And then it felt like for the second half, they did a really nice job of giving Herbert some protection. Now, it wasn't perfect. They got after him a little bit. And that last drive where they were kind of starting to drive a little bit, putting some things together, we had a Keenan Allen drop, which is very uncharacteristic. But it felt like the DB's hand just got in there a little late on that and poked the ball away. And then the pass rush got to Herbert. But it felt like in those first 2 quarters, they were able to just kind of tee off on Herbert. They just sent extra rushers and they just didn't have an answer for it. So it's it was a nice little adjustment from the offensive line to kind of settle down a little bit. The run game started to come alive a little bit towards the end of that second quarter too. It was really nice. They didn't score a lot today, but they scored enough and they did enough towards the end of that game to win it. Defense really held its own. They had a lot of 3 and outs in that game. I think at one point it was like 5 or 6. But offensively they did enough. Greg Roman obviously has his shortcomings, and it feels like, to think of an offseason where you beef up an offensive line, get a new offensive coordinator, and then kind of with all that cash at your disposal, kind of start to, add some of that window dress and get some of the extra pieces. It feels pretty good. I like how this offseason is shaping up, but for right now, everything's kind of coming together at the right time. Harbaugh's putting his stamp on this game. They're clearly a brand new football team, one we haven't seen in a very long time, winning these close games when they needed to and making the plays at the end and out physicaling everybody they play now.
Yeah, you have to get credit where it's due. Again, this is far from a perfect offense, mostly due to what they're dealing with as far as attrition is concerned. But overall, I like the fact that I want to give Greg Roman a little bit of credit here. There have been some instances where he's broken tendencies, and I think he's caught defense off guard. Say, for instance, in the second half, after the Deion pick, right? I was in a complete panic when I realized where they were spotting that ball. When they came back from break and I saw that it was in like at the shadow of the end zone, I'm like, oh God, I know what's coming. So I just assumed that he was going to hand the ball off, and he didn't. Like play action pass. I think maybe I'm getting my plays confused. Was that the same one? Because after halftime, they did the same thing. They came out and they passed the ball. But no, this was after Deion's pick. They faked the handoff and, created some space for themselves on a play action pass, which I don't think the Chiefs were expecting, because that's really not what Roman does. His default is to hand the ball off literally all the time. So the fact that they were able to do that, well, he felt safe enough to make that play call, that the protection held up, and that Herbert found the open man on that play was huge, because you had to just, if at the very least, start chewing time off the clock. There's some criticism to be had there, as always, because you don't want to play a team like this and go get into the red zone twice and only come away with 6 points. You're asking to get beat. Now, granted, the defense played like ridiculously well today. When you say elite, I mean elite. So you were able to get bailed out. But in games like this against guys like Patrick Mahomes, I know we feel how we feel about him, but again, he's one of the best to ever lace up a pair of cleats. You're putting yourself in a position to where, and you saw it start to happen, like that vintage Mahomes Kelsey stuff. It started happening on that last drive. Funny thing is why I'm saying this is all poetic justice. The fact that Derwin picks the ball off to seal it against Kelsey, because how many times have we seen this exact matchup in a scenario precisely like this, where, and this time it was Minshew, not Mahomes, where they go directly to Kelsey. He is the key target on these plays, and he's almost always wide open. And they find a way to get him on one-on-one against Derwin. Derwin may lose a step behind him, or they, send Derwin and find a hole in the zone defense, and people miss tackles, and then Kelsey runs it all the way, or at least gets them in field goal range. That didn't happen today. And again, it just speaks to everything as far as like adjustments being made and the type of leadership that this team has. But again, back to the offense. What more can you say about Justin Herbert? It wasn't a flashy game by any means.
They didn't mention his hand once today.
No. They did. It was in the fourth quarter, right before that 2-minute drive started, when Kevin Harlan was trying to set up like that either or situation, when he starts talking about, well, Herbert's playing with the broken hand, but you know what? Hey, Patrick Mahomes, that foot, what is it? His knee is nowhere near 100%.
Yeah.
Brother Bear. You just compared a quarterback with a broken hand to one with a sore knee. Now, granted, he went out because of the Deshaun Hand's tackle. You can see his knee kind of buckle. So clearly he was hurting. But this is what I'm saying about him setting it up, is the fact that he had a two-way go here, because if they lose, he can blame it on the knee. If they win, he's a hero because he played on it. Right. But the fact that you were able to compare the two things is complete, as the kids say, glazing, to a different level when we're talking about Mahomes. He even compared what was it? Oh, the throw that Herbert got off to
Was Mahomes like? Yeah. Uh-huh. Where he avoided the sack, didn't get his knee down and threw the ball away. Yeah.
Dog. Can we stop this? I'll tell you what. They're not playing anymore. They won't be playing in the postseason. Their season is essentially done. He might end up getting shut down. Who knows? Are they still going to do this every week? Because at this point, I think it's a part of a script and they're almost like paid to have to mention him. Might be some sort of sponsorship thing. Who the hell knows? Anyway, long story less long. Again, offensively, Herbert steps up and does his thing, makes 2 tremendous passes. That throw to Trey Harris, because I've literally been standing on the bar tops for weeks screaming, hey, it'd be nice if you take a shot to the dude who did exactly this in college. You're talking about claim to fame. Trey Harris is a guy who beats man coverage. He's someone who's very good in contested catch situations, and he gets the deep ball. His deep ball tracking is elite, and you saw that today. So if you were going to be able to open up a defense to take a couple shots, this is the dude you want to do it to. Now, I also think this is a byproduct of QJ being out today, because I almost feel like this would not have happened if he played, but it was kind of sort of a blessing in disguise. I hope QJ is all right. You know, he's dealing with a sore groin. I can't imagine having to play with that in the cold, because there's really no way to keep that thing warm, to be completely honest with you. And so it just worked out because I think they've also figured out, oh, okay, this dude who's done this for years in college, who we drafted because he can do all these things, maybe we should make him more of a focal point moving forward. So I expect to see more there. And Oronde Gaston, a guy who has kind of disappeared over the last few weeks due to injuries, ends up being your leading receiver today too. So Ladd was kind of on a milk carton a little bit. Another 2 reception game, but came up with a really key, I think it was the 3rd down reception, or it might have been. So really nice catch and run for Ladd there. But there's no guy, quote unquote, on the offense. And I'm fine with that, because teams don't really know who to key in on. So every week it can be someone differently. The fact of the matter is this team is going to live and die with the run game. You saw that today, 29 attempts, only 94 yards. But it's not about the efficiency. It's about the fact that by the time the end of the 3rd until the 4th quarter rolls around, they will have worn on you so much to where your will have been taken from you. And you either got it in you at that point or you don't. That's right, Jerry Tillery. I saw you getting worked, and I loved every second of it.
He's never had it. He didn't have it before. He doesn't have it now. That's for sure. And offensively, it just felt like the entire first half was Greg Roman just wanted to run the ball. And I get it. You want to break teams, and that's great. But you got to also put some points on the board. And the run game just was not working all that well in the first half. And there's a couple things we got to get to. One of which is any play on a 3rd and 16 where you got Keenan Allen catching the ball and then throwing it 7 yards behind him and a bounce pass to Amarian Hampton is a play that we don't ever need to see. We don't ever need to see that play. And I get it. There was a time where they did kind of that hook and ladder thing with Eckler, and it almost worked if they hit it in stride. But, I mean, Hampton was way far back, and Keenan wasn't even there. I mean, that was terrible. I don't know why Scott Matlock got as many targets as he did today. I don't know what happened. We started to phase Matlock out, and then it felt like he played almost every snap of the first 2 quarters. He was the lead blocker in all of them. And then on top of that, you cannot be motioning Trevor Penning out wide on anything. As an extra blocker, I'm all for it. But I don't know what the deal was today that you had to get Penning on the field as a receiver. Like, they practiced that for weeks and we're like, oh, this is why we traded for him and we'll use him. Are they trying to transition him into the new Matlock? I don't know what's happening, but you have receivers. Gadsden, again, has, disappeared a little bit, but you got Gadsden and Ladd and Trey and Keenan, and KLS had a nice touchdown catch today. And then you've got, Hampton and Vidal. Like, why would you go to Matlock and Penning when you have all this other offensive firepower, if you will? I don't know, man. There's something about it today, about how often they were motioning Penning in. And then the fact they got a target today was wild. And it was more of a throwaway, but the fact that he was like anywhere near that area was crazy. And then getting Matlock, how many? I mean, he had 2 targets, right? 2 catches, 2 targets. I don't know, man. That's too many. that because I think he had more than Hampton. I don't think Hampton, he had a catch, I think, but that's crazy. I don't know. It was not working early. Luckily, the protection settled down a little bit towards the middle of that game. Luckily, but if they lose this game, I don't know, man. We're having a serious conversation about Trevor Penning and Matlock being featured in your offense. I can't believe it's coming out of my mouth. It's crazy. You're muted.
Sorry,
You
yeah.
sound silent. You
Yeah,
don't even have words.
I didn't even have the words. Matlock on his second reception, it's like in his mind, he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm about to get it," and then his body told him, "Yeah, dude, you're not really that great of an athlete. So this cutback you're trying to make, we're just going to stop you in place." He froze in place. He literally tried to cut back left, and his body was like, "Champ,
he saw
knees and ankles, yeah."
This doesn't look
your
that
lower
bad.
extremity,
I see this all the time.
Your lower extremities are not meant for this. And he's like his feet stuck in the turf, in the grass or whatever they have in there. Just didn't move. And so, aesthetically,
if he
would have
caught it and just used his momentum to go forward, it would have been a first down. But then he thought he would cut back, and then it was short of the sticks.
Yeah, there's no such thing as cutting back, Scott. That's not a thing for you. And also, I will give Trevor Penning some credit. Well, first of all, Scott Matlock, good job of catching the ball and getting positive yardage.
Sure.
So there's that. Trevor Penning, yes, same thing. Penning in motion. But then here's the thing. I don't think Herbert knew that was Penning he was throwing the ball to. What I think was he just saw a white jersey flash. It looked bigger than the red jersey. And so he just thought he was getting like a body situation where someone can actually. But the funny thing is, he absolutely did box him out, and that's what stopped that from being a pick. So I will give Trevor Penning credit for just being big, and thank God for it, because there was a situation where that could have really gone like really poorly if it was a different wide receiver, Jesus. But it worked out. So the whole Matlock thing is probably a product of Tucker Fisk being out. So you're seeing more Matlock being utilized offensively. Fisk is, in my estimation, a much better blocker than Matlock, especially in space and on the move. Matlock's not a terrible athlete for his size. I mean, he tested really well at the combine. Coming out of Boise, so he's not horrible. It's just he's not what they are trying to have him be on occasion. And putting him in motion is always a terrible idea, because he can't stop his own momentum when he's trying to block in the run game. He almost overruns everything. So I'm better with him being in like 22 formation, lining him up in the backfield as a traditional fullback, and just having him go north and south. If you're having him go east and west, and he has to maneuver to get to the second level block, it's not going to end well. And 9 times out of 10, your running back is going to have to make an extra guy miss, or a play is going to get blown up. But luckily today, Scott, good on you for making the catches that were thrown to you. And I still don't want to see any more of it if we can avoid it. I know defenses get caught off guard by it a little bit, but I just feel like at some point something's going to go terribly wrong there. So let's just not tempt fate.
Yeah, I know. And the fact they wanted to do this against the Chiefs in a pretty important game here was pretty interesting. But it all worked out, and we don't have to have a serious conversation. But also, like, let's dial that back next week. We don't really need to see that anymore. So the Chargers, 10-4. It is the first time that they were back-to-back, and somebody pulled a stat earlier. I think it was Michael Peterson. They haven't had back-to-back double-digit win seasons since 2006, 2007, I think is the number. So that Harbaugh effect is working so far, man. And by the way, they're just a couple more wins away and a couple more losses from some other teams from being in serious conversation for the first seed.
Interesting, right? When you saw some of these games that they fumbled in the middle of the year, and just assume that there's no way this team's going to find its way through the AFC West to actually end up leading it at the end of the day. But yeah, there's a very real chance that this could still happen. That last game against the Broncos could mean something potentially, but in general, I feel like this isn't a luck thing. I know some people have thrown around that term. Specifically in the national media. I know, like, whenever the Chargers win, it's always about what the other team didn't do as opposed to what the Chargers did. But there is something to what's surrounding this team, kind of an aura, if you will, that they walk into whatever stadium, whether it be in SoFi or someone else's, and they feel like they have a chance no matter what. And Harbaugh has instilled that. Like, I know a lot of people think that, like, the Harbaugh-isms are super corny, But the truth of the matter is like he's made these guys believe in themselves.
Mhm.
Just look across the board at some of the names that are high-level performers on this team that were cast-offs from other teams or guys that were picked in the mid to late rounds of the draft. And they're literally starters on this team and difference makers. So there's a level of belief that he's instilled in this team and the players individually that you can't understate it. It's wild that this team is sitting in a position where it's 10-4, and I keep saying this. At worst, they should actually be 12-2.
Yeah,
because that Commanders game and that Giants game I cannot get over. But the fact that they are where they are right now feels like sort of a minor miracle. But at the end of the day, being in the position that they're in right now and essentially being a shoe-in to get into the playoffs at this point was not something I expected 3-4 weeks ago. It was kind of up in the air, but now you understand how the calculus works and what gets them to the next level. But the fact that they've been able to work around all these issues is what's been super tremendous. And that only comes from the belief that's been instilled from in them by their head coach, I think.
Yeah. And we got an update in the chat that the Packers, who are playing the Broncos right now in Denver, are up 3-0. And the Packers are driving right now. They're in the red zone as we speak. And the first quarter ended. So right now, Packers got a lead. They are 11-2. So if the Broncos lost, the Chargers would just be down one game from the Broncos, which will be a matchup they play later this year. What else do you want to touch on? We kind of felt like we did like a blanket team recap of everything. Anybody in particular that we haven't touched on?
No, it's another group, actually. The interior defensive line.
Oh, yeah.
This is now 2 weeks in a row where there's nothing you're getting up the middle in the run game. You're not getting anything whatsoever. Today, all around the defense was great against the run, but the perimeter is where they've been pretty weak, especially last week against the Eagles. But for 2 weeks in a row now, that rotation has been disgusting. And since Hand's gotten back, it's been solidified. Every one of those guys is willing to do the grunt work and not get them as much credit as like the glory positions. But I definitely want to make sure we shout the interior defensive line out because they are like the straw that stirs the drink on the defense right now. Teams can't get ahead of the sticks on down and distance in the run game if their plan is to try to beat the Chargers in between the tackles, because that's not going to work. More often than not, you're either going to gain, it's going to be like a two yard and cloud of dust situation, or you're going to get nothing, maybe even tackle for loss if they bring somebody off the edge backside and they catch you, like Derwin or Owe, one of those guys. They do that really, really well. But the interior defensive line needs to get some shine because I honestly think everybody in the secondary is what we love, right? The picks, the PBUs, that's all been tremendous. But it's the interior of that defensive line that makes this entire thing work. So I definitely want to make sure they get a salute from me.
Hand was particularly good today. T.R. Tart feels like he's always putting a stamp on the game. Like he flashes 2 to 3 times a game, which for an interior dude is awesome. But Hand had, I think, 2 tackles for a loss today. We saw Jamari Caldwell get a stop in the run game. Boygby was key in that very last drive on the Chiefs. Chased Patrick Mahomes down on one point, got an incompletion, something you're not going to see on the stat sheet. But it feels like all those guys, and now it looks like the Packers are up 6-0. They just kicked a field goal. That all those guys, it feels like every week are starting to like slowly put their fingerprint on this game. And yeah, it's great, man. All the Henley interception was amazing. And to seal the game with Derwin's pick was great. But it just felt like they couldn't get anything on the ground today. They had, I think Pacheco was a leading rusher. He had 20 something yards. And then outside, a scramble from Mahomes, which led to that touchdown. They had nothing going on the ground between Hunt and Pacheco. And that's all because of those guys in the middle. They were just awesome today. And the guys on the edge in the run game, especially Tuli and Mac, were exceptional today. Tuli feels like he's coming into his own, man. We're talking like premier pass rusher in the NFL right now, just the way he's playing right now. He's got to be like top 10 at the moment. And then Owe getting 2 sacks, one on a third down. After the Chiefs had already tied the game, he almost got a fumble on that play, by the way. It was great pursuit on the backside. And then he got a second sack at the start of the fourth quarter when they were, it was kind of more of a cover sack, but man, between Owe and Tuli, it all happens up front and in the middle with those big dudes. But that beef in the middle really helps those guys on the outside because like we mentioned earlier, they're able to get home with 4 rushers right now because those dudes in the middle are able to absorb 1 or 2 blockers so that they get one-on-one matchups on the outside and they're getting, free rushes. It's amazing.
Yeah. I'm not even going to pat myself on the back about this OA thing again. If anybody's been paying attention, I've literally been screaming for a trade for him since the summer. It just worked out that way. You can call me Corrections Diamonds if you want to. It's cool. But anyway, so as far as Tuli goes, I'm still not at the point of wanting to call him a premier edge rusher just yet, mainly because I want to see he's ascending. The trajectory is definitely there. I still think like he's a high level number 2. The only thing that he's missing is like he doesn't have elite athleticism. A lot of his sacks come on effort. But he's also, what I think has happened, has grown as a technician. Whether we're talking about setting the edge and eye discipline in his rushing lanes, what you're noticing now is you're not running into very many scenarios where he's overrunning plays. He's taking really solid angles towards the QBs on these sacks. And a lot of these effort sacks he's getting from the backside, he's just like, we're talking about relentless effort. This is what he brings every single play. I was listening to, I can't remember, was it Tony Jefferson? It might have been Tony Jefferson on, it was Tony Jefferson on the Nightcap podcast with Shannon Sharp and Chad Ochocinco. He says if there's anybody he would want to be in a back alley fight with is Tuli. And the reason why is because you see the type of effort that he put, like the never quit type guy. That's who he is on the court. That's who he is on the field. And I think there's a path for him to become one of the upper echelon pass rushers, but most of that's going to be based on him improving his overall technique. But the motor is always going to be there. He just won't be a guy that you can ask to go out and win every single down where he can utilize the athleticism to win because he doesn't really have that. But if you put him in tandem, like with the guys that we have now, because Odafe Owe has been a complete godsend for this defense, there you have your more athletic edge rusher who can maybe win literally right off of the snap and force the QB off their spot. And you know that backside of that, you've got Tuli with that pressure and relentless effort and taking those solid angles where you're going to house a QB in. He's going to have to make a decision. And more often than not, that's going to be having to step up into the pocket and navigate. But if you take a wrong step in either direction, you're probably going to get caught. And that's something the Chargers were lacking. So Bud Dupree, I don't even remember Bud Dupree playing today. To be completely honest with you, I'm sure that he probably got some snaps, but I didn't see him one time. If he didn't, I don't think he was a healthy scratch, but I don't remember seeing Bud once. And that's not a bad thing when you're talking about getting home with 4, because as far as juice, Bud doesn't really have that anymore. He is still a solid edge setter against the run, but now you have 3 respectable edge rushers that can get after the quarterback. And like you mentioned before, this defense wants to get home with 3. On occasion, they'll send a blitz, but they really want to drop guys back in coverage and get after you with the front 4, and they were able to do that today, and that's something that's vital against a guy like Patrick Mahomes.
Okay, they said he played today. The chat is saying that Bud Dupree played today. I don't remember seeing his jersey on the field, but maybe he did. If you guys got questions, feel free to send it in. I just this is going around on Chargers Twitter. I thought we could speak on it now, Craig. I didn't mean to put it on. I was just uploading it, but here we go. Chris Rim says Chargers won't win double-digit games this season. This was his prediction before the season started. And there was something about how they only won 3 games against teams with winning records. They are already in double-digit wins. And I'm sure he will hear about that a lot today. After the game they had.
When you're a beat reporter for the Chargers, you got to be really careful. I don't think beat reporters should really be making predictions. That's just me personally. Do they?
Well, I mean, off season's so long. They got to do something. Yeah.
Well,
everybody.
This was a weird hill. This was a weird hill to die on. And the reason why I feel that way is because last year the problem was the Chargers beat the teams they were supposed to beat, but when they came up against like upper echelon talent, they couldn't go toe to toe with them. So my expectation is that the next step would be that you still beat the teams that you should beat, but then also you're more competitive against the very good teams, which for the most part they've done this season. But I'm not sure why he expected them to take a step back. It was a weird opinion when I saw him. Like, okay, cool, do your thing. But ultimately, you're also talking about a team who's playing a tougher schedule this year than they did last year. So I'm sure that had to come into consideration. But to think that they wouldn't get to double-digit wins before the injuries is nuts to me.
Yeah, we both predicted. I think we both said 11 wins, if I'm not mistaken.
And that's what I assumed, that it would be a very similar record for the reasons that I already stated. It's that they were playing a tougher schedule, but I expect them to be more competitive against the good teams, is taking the next step in the progression of the team overall.
Yeah. This is a really weird take. And sometimes you take big swings, and man, I know Chargers Twitter won't let him forget that. Not on the high that they're on right now, because this was as close to a playoff game as you can this early in the season. The Chiefs were playing for their life. They need a lot of things to go right, but a win would at least help their chances. A loss and then some other losses, which ended up happening. It unfolded earlier that morning. They had to win this game. They were at home. The fans knew it. The team knew it. They talked to Mahomes pregame like, hey, if you guys lose today, you're out of the playoffs, which are approached. And he said, we're approaching it like a playoff game. It's a must-win game. And they did not win. And I know Mahomes got hurt late, and I feel like that's going to be the headline all day today and
on the
tomorrow.
last drive. Yeah, it's going to be, he got hurt on the last drive. Yeah,
right.
great.
On the last drive. Yeah. Not that they had sucked going up to that point, but whatever.
Yeah.
But to go into a hostile territory with everything that happened between the calls that happened, the injuries that happened, and everything else in between, to go in there on the road and get a win like that in Herbert's coldest day he's ever played a football game in, by the way, to get the win and not ever complain about the hand. We never saw him shake it or look at it or anything. You forgot it even was hurting him. Kind of bodes well for their outlook going forward, because if he's still hurting on that hand, then it doesn't feel like they can go very far. But right now, he felt a lot more comfortable with that hand. At least it looked like it. It appeared that way. A lot more comfortable with that hand this week than he was last week. So hopefully that's just a trajectory we'll see going forward for the rest of the couple weeks towards the end of the season.
Another quick call out. I know we talked about how mundane the running game was, for lack of a better term. I'll put it this way, though. When we're talking about the two running backs, I think there's a very clear understanding of who's who and what they should be in this offense. Kamani Vidal let's start with Amarian Hampton. He's your north-south power guy. He has a gear that Vidal doesn't have, but as far as being a natural runner, Vidal has the edge on him there. Hampton is a see the hole, hit the hole guy. He doesn't really find the creases all that well, and he's not super laterally gifted. Whereas Vidal can be very patient. His feet never stop moving. He can anticipate a crease, and he can create one where one doesn't exist, and he can actually squeeze the well. I'll put it this way. If there's a smaller crease, he can still see it and hit it and get yardage there. So I just want them to utilize them effectively that way. When you're running outside zone or some sort of variation of stretch with Amarian Hampton, he basically presses the line of scrimmage until he sees it, where Vidal will press it and he can anticipate where the opening is going to be, or he'll be patient enough to allow it to develop and then he'll hit it. Hampton has one speed. And so what you want to do is make sure that you get him north and south as often as possible. You don't want him running laterally. It doesn't end up very well. But I think that they're figuring that out now that they've got 2 games in the hole with the both of them. And I think as they move forward to finish the year out, you'll see them utilized very specifically. I would like to see them used more in the passing game, because it's a quick outlet for you. And I want Greg Roman to understand, I get what you want to do with Justin Herbert. The problem is right now, you can't ask him to have multiple 5 to 7 step drops with slow development routes down the field. It's not a recipe for success. If anything, it's going to get him injured more so than he already is. And you're putting your team in a less than advantageous situation where they're having to play behind the sticks on down and distance, because this is not an offense built for that right now. So use your backs. I think they should still be using more of Herbert in the running game. I get that the hand is an issue, but clearly he doesn't care because he's still trying to stiff arm people with the broken hand. Like, he's a freaking psycho.
Yeah.
But it's just a natural thing for him. So I totally understand. Yeah, but between the two running backs, I want them to continue to understand how they're best utilized, but also I want to see them using the passing game more, because you're not going to make it happen when, number one, you're down a couple of your receivers or one. Like, I think QJ being available today would have helped with regard to just the amount of bodies, viable passing options. Even if he wasn't all that successful today, it would have just given Herbert more options. But what you absolutely have to do is figure out a way to get the ball out quicker, like you did in the Steelers game, with much more quick plays. When we're talking about like quick game in the passing game, slant screens. We saw a screen. It worked today, right? It finally did it. Got it to Vidal, and it was like a 15-yard gain.
Yep.
So again, easy button plays to keep your quarterback safe and get the ball in your playmakers' hands so that they can make the offense go. They're the engine. So I understand wanting to have your 6'6", 240+ pound QB drop back and deliver the pill as often as possible, because that's like what he's built for. But you don't have all the requisite pieces in front of him, as we've known for weeks, to continue to ask him to do that without putting your team in situations where they're playing from behind, again, on the sticks. You don't want that. So overall, just those things, please.
Kind of disappointing that you're not considering Penning or Matlock receiving options. But
sorry, my bad.
That's okay. Moving on to the questions.
Forgive me.
From Omnis VL, what are your thoughts on Rivers playing today? Who's currently in a 3-3 tie here in Seattle, by the way, on the road. I'm watching it on the side here, but
same.
Some elite handoffs, by the way.
Yes.
Lots of Jonathan Taylor's looking good behind Rivers, but there's a couple things. One, I just don't want him to get injured. I really want him to stay safe out there. We all love Rivers with all of our heart. He is our dude, and so I want him to stay safe out there. Obviously, it feels weird that he's going to be playing at 44. But also, like, to have to reset the Hall of Fame thing and have that conversation all over again, I don't love. I wish we would have just saw him go in. But does this continue his starting streak?
That is a good question. I mean, technically, he wouldn't have missed a game. I mean, he's been active and available, so I think it should. Yeah. What's funny to me is, like, I'm sitting here looking at him in gun, and he's got the booty do. We know what that is, right? Like when your stomach sticks out further than your booty do.
Oh.
It's so wild looking at this on TV. Like, I know Phil he's living a good life, man. He retires. He's coaching his kid. He's a grandfather now. He looks crazy out there with that beer gut. And same as you, I don't want him to get hurt. That's my biggest thing. Like, he's never been mobile. We know that. But I said this before, like, you might as well just line him back there in the lazy boy and let him throw from that, like take snaps from a lazy boy chair, because that's about as mobile as he's going to be in the pocket. So this is a close game, but I think they want to, if they're smart, lean on the running game as much as possible, which I think is the plan all along, and just ask him to make a couple key throws here and there. But as far as my opinion on him playing, I think it's nuts. It's insane. The fact that he's going to be who they lean on for the remainder of their season is crazy to me, because for like one game, we could try to make that work. But you're talking about a potential playoff run. I don't think there's enough Ozempic in the world to fix this situation right now. And again, I'm sorry, it's just crazy. It looks crazy. I love Phil. We all love Phil, but him getting off of the sofa to come and start an NFL game after 5 years is pure insanity to me.
Yeah, it is. It's a very unique situation. I don't know that I've ever seen anything like this before. It's crazy, but I hope he has success. That'd be awesome. But it's weird. There was one point just now where he was in the pocket and he fell down and kind of rolled forward. And
because he's leading with his gut.
Yeah, he wasn't mobile to begin with, but now, like at 44, and I don't know, what is that, a generous 20, 30 extra pounds?
Oh, that's bare minimum 20. That's the starting point.
It's a little bit different. All right, next one. Thoughts on Alohi Gilman to the Ravens?
Next
I mean,
question.
yeah, I know. It feels like at this point it's kind of a win-win, but they'll find out about Gilman pretty soon. Thoughts on Penning as the tackle running routes? We already went over that. Not a fan. We don't need to see it.
No bueno.
Next question. Same guy. Your savior ACR16. Thoughts on McConkey? He has to be hurt.
If I'm not mistaken, he was limited all week with some sort of foot or hamstring situation, but he was limited with something. So I know, as Harbaugh would say, he's dealing with something. But yeah, I'm sure it's attributing to his performance the last couple of weeks, which is super unfortunate because we need him. Herbert needs to have the outlet guy. You know, he's normally looking for Ladd. If Keenan's not around on third downs to be a chain mover, but Ladd's also a guy that creates big plays. And so that element of the offense has absolutely been lacking here the last 2 weeks. So I don't think Ladd sucks all of a sudden. He's just clearly not 100% right. But also, here's why you need to have an actual legitimate X receiver. And you do. His name is Trey Harris.
Mm-hmm.
So use that bigger body, be more of a chain mover, to be somebody you can utilize to affect all three levels of the field, and maybe stop putting as much of the emphasis on Ladd because he's a smaller guy. Ladd does a really good job at, for the most part, keeping himself out of trouble or taking big hits. But this is now 2 years in a row, like his second year in the league. He's dealing with some nagging stuff. And when you're in a smaller package like that, I'm assuming that it's harder for you to play through some of these more nagging injuries because you're more of a speed and agility guy. And if you can't play at near 100%, then it limits your overall game because you don't have the size to win with physicality, and you don't have the length either. So I'm sure that's probably a huge reason as to why he hasn't been super effective the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, he's clearly dealing with something. So yes, he is hurt, but made a great play today, breaking tackles. He's slippery, dude. It feels like
perfect explanation.
He always makes that first dude miss, and for some reason, he will slip out of tackles. Whoever starts to the first guy who tries to wrap him up. From Spiked WK, record prediction versus current record. So Chargers are currently 10-4. Let's go game by game. So they got 3 more games left. They are at Dallas next week. Yep. It's a 10 a.m. slot, by the way, which all these early games, they just feel like they get a real slow start. So I'll throw that out there to start. Do you think they get a win on the road in Dallas?
I think they keep it going. And the reason why is because Dallas's defense, while better, still isn't great. And I feel like they can slow down Dallas's offense. Side note, I just realized this yesterday. So, guys, I'm a Miami Hurricanes fan. So they're playing on Saturday at A&M. And the Chargers are playing in Dallas on Sunday. That would be one hell of a guy's trip, man.
Yeah. Are you trying to get some friends from the chat to come and join you?
Well, I would. The only thing is I got like some stuff going on right now that I have to be near home for. So if it wasn't for that, I'd definitely try to put something together this week because that'd be a hell of a trip, man. Back-to-back days. It's only like 2.5 hour drive both ways. Whether it's going to Jerry World and then going to College Station. So I could absolutely make that work. It's just timing isn't great. But again, that's a side note. Dallas, I think they can pull it off for the reasons that I mentioned. I think they can slow that Dallas offense down enough with the way the defense is playing. And I think they'd be able to be pretty successful if, specifically on running the ball. And they could set up the passing game really well off the run next week, which is what they want to do anyway. So you're indoors, so the weather won't be an issue. And I think you have some strength.
You know how that sun.
Yeah, true. But I do think that you're in a position to attack their weaknesses and be pretty successful. And I think I'm not going to give the O-line this much credit, but I think you're especially on the interior with what Dallas boasts there. There's still an opportunity to get them up against the ropes. I'm not saying to score a ton of points against them, but I think you can keep their offense under wraps or somewhat neutralize it and definitely put up enough points to walk out of there with another victory. So I could see them winning by like 6 minimum.
Yeah, I think they win this game too. I think Dallas's offense is going to struggle a lot in this game. I think it's going to be another slow start for the Chargers, but I think they end up winning in Dallas. I got them down for a win there. Then they're at home and they play the Texans, which I feel like
that's the one.
Yeah, that's going to be the one that's going to be the toughest. They're on a heater right now. I think they've won 6 straight right now. They are climbing fast, and I just feel like I think they're starting to peak at the right moment. I think the Chargers are good enough to keep it really close. I think it's kind of one of those like Houston wins on a field goal type of games, and I think the Chargers would lose that one. What about you?
I think I'm going to call an L on that one also, and I hate that because as many of you guys know, I was at that wild card playoff game last year, so I saw it firsthand, and man, it feels like a lot of the same is on deck for this one. And in that game, they had Alton Slater, so yeah. I'm really concerned about. That's the one that I've had circled about my genuine concern for Herbert because I don't know what they do. That's an all-around very good defense. It's the number one in the NFL, I think, still, if I'm not mistaken. And they do it great everywhere. Whether it's getting after the quarterback, they do a pretty decent job at stopping the run, and they've got guys in the secondary that can just blanket everything that you have. So the Chargers will absolutely have to have all their weapons as far as receivers and running backs go for that game, and there's going to have to be a game plan to get the ball out of Herbert's hands in a hurry. Similarly to the Steelers game plan, whatever Greg Roman did with that, wherever he buried it or lost it,
pull that out.
Figure it out, man.
Yeah.
You got to find it because that's the game that concerns me the most out of everything that they have left, even against Denver and then playing on the road. I fear Houston more than I do Denver.
Same here. So then moving on to Denver in Mile High, you got them winning that game, losing that game?
This is a toss-up for me. I think if we're talking about
Denver just scored
division,
it's 7-6. Broncos are up now. Well, go ahead.
If we're talking about for the division, both teams giving it their all. You know what? Screw it. Give me the Chargers in a close one. Cameron Dicker walk-off field goal. How about that?
Dang, I was just going for that. Yep, same here. So we both have them going 12-5 to finish the year.
Yeah, another low-scoring game, which I think comes down to like the very end, potentially even going into overtime again. So keep your defibrillators handy. But I don't fear the Broncos offensively whatsoever. I know people, one of my buddies and also co-workers is a huge Denver fan and loves Bo Nix, and he's always believed in him. I think Bo Nix is fine, but I also think he benefits from having Sean Payton coach him. I don't think they'll put up a ton of points. I am curious as to what this weather is going to be, though. That's something else that I think could potentially affect the game because if it ends up being a ground and pound game, I definitely like the Chargers better than I like the Broncos if the weather is a factor there. So let's just have to wait and see what those outdoor conditions look like. But right now, I'm going to call a close one with the Chargers walking out with 3 and then somehow figuring out a way to win the division because, like, look at this year. Nothing about it makes sense anyway. So why not?
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to look up the weather. I know it's pretty far out, but let's just see. It says and we're talking what date would that be? The 4th or 5th, right? Or the 3rd or 4th. It's like one of those games where they're going to figure out where they want to do it. Oh, man. On the 4th, it's going to be 25 degrees. On the 3rd, it'll be 46. So, I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, this is a very good question. Is the locker room video out? Because that's one I want to play out on. I'm gonna have to check this out. But I think that's it. Is there anything else you want to touch on? I'm gonna go look for this video, but
oh yeah, one last thing.
Okay.
Rashee Rice is getting his just due on the football field. Like that incident in Dallas, the hit and run thing you had where it looks like you might be getting off easy. Oh, they're taking it out on you in the football field, especially these last 2 weeks. Your bell is getting rung, champ. So the danger that you created for those families and that little high speed thing you had going on, which is completely unacceptable. There's no excuses for it whatsoever. Oh, you paying for it on a football field, champ.
You sure are. All right, here we go. I found it. Oh, it looks like Packers just scored a touchdown is what the chat's saying.
Sweet.
Craig, give me a thumbs up if you can hear this.
Okay, go.
Good. All right, here we go. And then we're going to get out of here. Thank you so much, guys, for watching, joining us. Huge win. Felt like a playoff game, and it definitely it definitely went in the Chargers' favor. Crazy that they were able to upset the Dynasty. They're the one that toppled the throne. So big win today. Exciting going forward. It's going to be still got 3 tough games going forward, but
we swept the Chiefs.
Swept the Chiefs, close to going 6-0 in the division, which would be wild. All right, here we go. Locker room video. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next time.
Salute.
Okay, guys, that was a great God-given opportunity. We have a direction. We have a goal. And, man, that was tremendous. Give each other a high five for that. Yes, sir. Video game ball to the Spanos family. This family brought us here to do this. This family brought us here to do this.
Oh, no.
God first.
I tell you what, guys, that was
Oh, God.
nothing that feels as good.
Are you for real? I don't want to do this.
Talk about ruining a great moment, man.
Dude.
Can't you give him a Nintendo Switch to go play with in the corner somewhere? Like,
give
just
some
keep him
crayons and
busy.
oh, no. Dean talks too. I don't know that I can do this, fellas. Oh, no. They're all talking. Hold on.
I'd rather Dean than John.
You all can watch it on your own. I'm not doing it.
We needed to come in here and take care of business. Did we take care of business? Yep. Who's got it better than us? Nobody!
They had an opportunity for an all-timer. An all-timer. Gosh. All right. Well, we appreciate you guys watching, and we will see you next time.
Salute.
Come on, man.